Welcome to the Haunted Hangover podcast. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by a big return here, Chris.
Triumphant return.
Triumphant return.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
You've been MIA for a few months.
I think the last thing we did was
November.
Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, November of last year. And since you mentioned that, Anthology Obscura, for the listeners, if you dig that show under the Haunted Hangover brand, that will be back very soon, right, Chris?
Yes. We got some fun stuff in store.
Yes. You and I and Sam will be back doing more Anthology Obscura.
Bringing the squad back.
Yes, Anthology Obscura episodes, because those are always fun. But we're not going to be talking about Anthology today. We're going to be talking about Scream 6. Now, before we dive into the actual film, I just want to say at the top, because this is a very new movie, spoiler warning.
Yes. We're breaking it all down.
If you
haven't seen it yet, come back later.
We're going to be spoiling the whole film. So if you haven't seen it or you're going to wait for it to be on VOD or something, don't want to fuck it up for you. So
yeah,
come back after you've seen it and listen to our take on Scream 6.
Hello.
Let's play a game.
You know you're like the 10th guy to try this, right? It never works out for the dipshit in the mask.
Maybe. But there's never been one like me, Gail. I'm something different.
That's why I'm gonna shoot you in the fucking head.
We're jumping back with the, is it the Carpenter sisters, right? Carpenter.
Yes.
Tara and Sam Carpenter.
Yes.
And what is it? Chad and Mindy, the twins?
Chad and Mindy Meeks Martin.
They're you go.
Randy Meeks' niece and nephew, and Martin from whatever marriage they're from.
Their father, apparently.
Yes.
So after they all survived what happened in Scream 2022, for all of them, minus Sam, because I think she's the only one that's an adult, as like the character's an adult, and the rest of them are 18, like freshly graduating high school. They decide to move to New York, and they go to college in New York. And Sam, because she's an overprotective sister, decides to follow Tara and the other friends, the twins, to New York to kind of just supervise them, because I guess she thinks that someone else is going to come back, right? Ghostface killings and all that good stuff.
It's a justifiable thing to follow them to New York.
It's a trope. You've seen it in other horror movies, dude. Right. It's not the first time. I feel like a lot of horror movies have used. They did it with Laurie Strode in the new Halloween movies, where she's kind of an overbearing mother, and in the case of Scream 6, she's an overbearing older sister. So kind of paranoid, and she's worried that there's going to be another set of Ghostface killings. Surprise, surprise. That's exactly what happens. There's another Ghostface person. Who'd have thunk? There would have not been a movie if that didn't happen. But yes, there's another person that's out there. People's out there killing once again because of these sisters surviving what happened in Scream 2022. Gail lives in New York, which, funny enough, I had rewatched Scream 2022 a week before seeing Scream 6, just to kind of freshen up on what happened in the last movie, because I'd only seen it one time in theaters with you. And I forgot that in that movie they mentioned that Gail lived in New York.
Right.
So
she hosts a New York news show.
Yes. So they kind of teased where the, I guess, sequel would take place. In the original, I say the original, but I mean the original film in this new, I guess, trilogy that they're making. So that's cool. They found a way to kind of bring her back. No Neve Campbell, no Sydney. She sat this one out.
I think that this movie, I think it benefited from not having her. I'm gonna say it. It's controversial maybe, but I think it benefited from not having her.
It was. Listen. Sydney as a character is a crutch, I guess, in the Scream franchise, and they could always kind of lean back on her, similar to Laurie Strode. It's always going to go back to her. She's the final girl, the legit, real, original final girl in this series. So it makes sense that, you know, she'd be a part of the franchise going forward. But I will say it was pretty ballsy for them to make this movie without that character in it, even though they do kind of mention her, and there's a reason for her not being there, because technically she doesn't live in New York. Ghostface is not supernatural. It's always a human or humans that are put on that persona and kill people. So yeah, it makes no sense for her to be in New York.
I think the movie worked fine without her. Like it moved at a fast enough pace. Like the action kept going that there wasn't really like a natural way to kind of insert her into the movie. And I mean, the line of dialogue of like, Sydney deserves her happy ending. Like, it's a super clunky line of dialogue, but like, what else are you really going to do? Like, it is kind of the only thing that they could have done other than not mentioning her at all, which would have, I feel like, would have been a little bit more awkward. Like,
no,
you
have to mention
kind of thing.
Yeah, you have to mention her since she's the main character, or she was the main character of this series. You know, they're always going to mention, I feel like in all these Scream movies going forward, they're always going to mention Sydney. They're always going to mention Dewey. They're always going to mention Randy. Those are just characters that always come back, even after the character is killed. Yeah. They're always just going to be referenced. It's always going to go back to that original set.
Good parts about Scream is there, like, you know, a lot of these like reboot franchises, while they do have like the legacy characters, there's a certain like reverence to them in Scream that isn't necessarily like there in some of these other reboot franchises. And I like that. Like, I like the tying everything together. I mean, I think that in this one more particularly, there's kind of a balance, a little too much on the nostalgia and the winks and the do you remember this kind of stuff.
We're living in the nostalgia age, so that's just kind of, that just goes with the territory. You know, even our show, we talk about old shit. So it always goes back to that, dude. In reality, that's what people like. You know, people like the winks and nods to the previous iterations of whatever it is the current thing is doing. You know what I mean? Jurassic Park, everything. Scream, Halloween. If they make a new Friday the 13th movie, I'm sure it's going to be filled with Easter eggs and winks to the original series. That's just the original films. That's just how it always is. I didn't think this movie did a bad job with that at all. Another returning character is her name Kirby? Hayden I can't pronounce her last name. What is it?
Hayden Panera Bread.
Yeah, there you go. Hayden Panera Bread. Her character's back. Just to kind of, you know, personally speaking, I was about to say Halloween. Scream 4 is probably my least favorite in the series. I think it just, hands down, is probably my least favorite. I was not excited about her coming back at all. I didn't care. I was just like, whatever. Because I didn't like that movie. I thought she died in that movie.
I mean, I kind of feel like she did, but then, you know, like rewatching it recently, you kind of don't.
It's open-ended.
I mean, I guess it's a little open-ended, but I
don't don't show her.
Yeah, like, no, of course.
In the morgue, if, being Ziploc bagged, you know? Yeah.
If this movie shows us anything, it's that these fucking characters are resilient and can take a pounding. So I guess in that regard, in the world of Scream, unless you see somebody die, they may not be dead.
I don't even think you have to see them die. I think the characters inside the film have to say that character is dead for them to actually be dead. You know what I mean? So even Dewey in the last film, them killing him off, it's like they said it 4 times. So I killed Dewey. Dewey's dead. And we killed. Like they're hammering it in. Like, all right, Dewey is dead. He's not coming back. So I feel like that's really when
my biggest gripe with this film is that.
We'll save that for the end. But yes, Kirby is back as an FBI agent who's like, she's investigating all the Ghostface murders. That's kind of her deal in the movie.
She's also particular interest in them.
It makes sense because she survived a Ghostface attack. They also set her up as a red herring in the movie. So I do like that and how that played into the ending, because I'll be honest, for a second there, I thought she was the killer.
Yeah, there was a part of me
towards the end.
I thought that like, hey, maybe this is like where they're going with this, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hated that. I mean, I will say I didn't hate the reveal as it is, but I don't think
get
I
to
would've-
it. We'll talk about our feelings towards the big reveal of who the killer.
It being Kirby.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever make a legacy character like a killer.
That's kind of the one thing I feel like they're never gonna do.
Yeah, if they were to make a character like one of the main characters a killer, I feel it'd be one of the newer characters. Just my opinion.
They kind of hint at it with the Sam stuff.
Honestly, after this movie, I don't think they can do that. I don't think they will make, and even now thinking about it, I don't think they can, just because of what they're setting up in this movie, and we'll talk about that towards the end.
Yeah.
But there's some new characters, and I'll be very honest, all of the new characters are very forgettable in this movie. There's like Mindy's girlfriend who exists in the movie. Yeah. She's in like 2 or 3 scenes and she's making out with her. They're at the Halloween party, which I want to get to the Halloween aspect of this movie in a second because we are Haunted Hangover.
Right, absolutely.
But they introduced her and I was just like, I don't even know her name. I couldn't even tell you the character's name right now.
I still can't tell you the character's name. Yeah, absolutely not. I do think, though, she had a fucking great death scene.
Yes, and when we go to our favorite moments of the film, I'm sure we'll both agree on 2 scenes, I think, that were very well done, very well executed. But then you've got Mindy's new girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. I forgot her name. She was very forgettable, and she dies in like the first, I'd say, 30 to 40 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, easily.
Then you've got, both sets of characters have roommates. So Chad has like the kid from the new Avatar movie. I don't know his character's name, who, once again, it's revealed that he's one of the killers, but the kid from Avatar, the new Avatar movie, is his roommate. Then the girls, Tara and Sam, have a roommate. I think her name was Quinn. I remember that. Yes.
I know, yeah.
The boy, I don't remember his name.
I want to say it was Ethan, but I don't know if that was
I don't remember.
I think that was like a fake out name.
I don't remember. But when we talk about the ending, there's a reason why I guess they both decide. There is a reason why they both decide to live with these people. But yes, the I guess nymphomaniac girl, because that's what she's like, the nymphomaniac roommate who loves having sex.
Is she really though? Or is that just like her? It's just cover, you know?
She's just living the gimmick. That's all that was.
Right.
She's living the gimmick to trick them. But yeah, her character once again is killed off very early in the movie and then doesn't reappear until the very end. And then the last character, which I've got a lot to say about this character because it comes back to Haunted Hangover. And this is a funny story. So in the film, and Chris already is laughing because he knows what I'm going to talk about. In the film, the character of Sam, in the last movie, Richie, the killer in Scream 2022, he reveals himself to be the killer. Richie, he, was Sam's boyfriend. And, you would think, she doesn't want to date men because you don't know, she has trust issues. It's going to turn out. So in this movie, she's got like a guy that lives. They call him, I forget his character's name too.
They call him like hot guy next door.
Hot guy across the hall or something. Yeah. Like cute guy across the hall.
His name was Danny. His character's name was Danny.
There you go. So his character in the movie, she's keeping him a secret because she's like banging the guy. Like she's sleeping with him.
Right.
And it's revealed about an hour into the movie, and he pops up. He literally comes and goes so much in this movie. He comes and goes. It's an interesting character, but the funny thing about this character is that he looks like Haunted Hangover's own Dave. They look
Danny,
like they
Dave, 2D names.
Dude, so this character, for the listeners, if you guys listen and watch the show and you followed us for the past 3 years, you have to admit this character looks like Dave.
We should do a poll on once this episode
is up,
we'll do an Instagram poll.
This character looks like Dave, and I'm in the theater with my wife, and she looks at me and she goes, "I can't unsee that now." So it was like an inside joke. We're sitting there watching Scream 6, and every time he popped up, she laughed, and it was a personal reason why we laughed, and it was because he looks like Dave. He looks like he'd be related to Dave. So we just thought it was funny. But the character in reality in the movie, he is red herring. Sam's boyfriend.
Absolutely.
He literally is there for just as a red herring. I like the character, but I think it's because I associate it with Dave now. And I think that's really why watching the movie, I was like, oh, this dude, it's Dave. Dave's beefing with Ghostface in this movie.
Well, so I've known this actor for a while. I've seen him on other stuff, and like he was on that Green Arrow TV show back in the day, and he had he played a masked villain, and he had like a really great unmasking scene. And I kind of feel like the directors probably knew that from his filmography and took that into account. That's why they leaned so hard into like the red herring stuff with him, because I would have loved to see him like unmask as Ghostface, because I'm sure it would have been cool as fuck. So I'm sure that was
set it up.
Known thing. Yeah, absolutely.
He literally, that character, what was his name? Danny, you said?
Danny.
He comes and goes. He pops up. He's making out with her. Then he's trying to like protect her and help her. Then he disappears and comes back. And then she's like, no, go, for his like own safety. And then he comes back at the very end with the. And then I love how he's like a stereotypical New Yorker. Like everything about it. He's like, yo, from across. Like just the way he talks, all his dialogue. It sounds, honestly, that actor, I'm not familiar with him. You're way more familiar. But I feel like
I think the guy is a New York actor, actually. He was able to bring the New York dude to life in the movie, and I appreciated that. I don't know if he'll come back for 7, but maybe Dave's got a role in part 7. We don't. He's just Dave now. He's not even. Dave. He's not even. Dude, I'm telling you, the whole movie. Scream Dave.
Scream Dave. That's what part 7's gonna be. But yes, moving on from the Dave character, I just think that was hysterical. And Dave is not a Scream fan. And I had sent Dave a picture of this character, like a screenshot from the movie when they're on the subway. And he was like, I told him to like show his girlfriend. And she was like, yeah, I can see it. Because, dude, it looks like fucking Dave in certain shots. Absolutely. He looks like Dave. But moving on. Now, one thing that I noticed right away about this movie, and I want your opinion on this if I'm wrong or not, but I feel Scream 6 was way more violent and gorier than part 5, Scream 2022.
I'd venture to say that there was the most violent Scream yet.
Dude, there's the opening sequence. They show a severed, like literally a decapitated head, in a fridge. I never would have thought I'd see something like that in a Scream movie. So I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. Oh, people get stabbed in the mouth, in the fucking head.
Yeah, in the fucking eye. Like
the one girl slams her head into like a dumpster, and her head's like fucking eviscerated. I was like, wow, this is coming from the series that has like Rose McGowan getting eaten by a garage door. Right. But I can't think of any other kills in the franchise that were this grotesque. They even say it in the movie as a joke. They're like, decapitations are a thing.
Right.
Like there's that funny joke, with Chad fighting Ghostface, and he's like, decapitations, because the mannequin's head that was actually really fucking funny. But yeah, I was like, this is a pretty violent and gory film for Scream.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like from Jump Street, like literally the first couple of minutes. So again, spoilers, Samara Weaving's character is the opening kill, and while her death scene is not particularly like gory, it's fucking vicious. I mean, like the ghost face that goes after her and kills her, like her scream and like the way he's repeatedly stabbing her, and like,
there's a lot of that
vicious fucking.
There's a lot of like stabbing 20 times. I was like, oh shit! Like wow! Like even Sam at the end when she kills one of the killers, she stabs the guy like repeatedly, like 50 times.
In this movie is another level for Scream.
I was like, wow, that was pretty. I wasn't fazed by it because I've watched way more violent shit. But still, for a Scream movie,
you are exactly. That's what it is. You're not used to seeing it.
And I'm glad you mentioned that opening because I do like the idea of two guys that are, because in the opening of the film, like you said, Samara Weaving is on a Tinder date or something, and then she gets dragged into an alleyway on the phone by who she thinks is the date, and then she's killed, and then we follow the Spider-Man kid. I don't know his name, that actor.
Ghostface. We follow a Ghostface who literally unmasks himself in the first 3.5 minutes of the movie.
And I love that.
Like, blown away. Yeah, I thought that had they kept that, and it was like the audience knows who Ghostface is, but the people in the movie don't, that's a fucking brilliant way to do it. But they go and they subvert your expectation even further, and then that kid gets offed by another Ghostface 5 minutes later.
It's almost like you guys would have been the killers of this movie,
right?
If
had there not been another killer,
or killers, because it's a group of them.
So I mean, I'd say that in this movie, while there are 3 Ghostfaces revealed at the end, I'd say there's 4, even 5.
Technically, there's supposed to be 5.
Kid. Yeah. 5 Ghostfaces in the movie. That's a fucking shitload.
Well, you find out that those 2 guys in the beginning that killed Samara Weaving, they're students at the same school as Tara, and that their plan is to finish Richie's movie, his movie, which was the 2022 Scream. So they were kind of continuing on his legacy, I guess. That was kind of their shtick, was like, okay, we're going to kill the people he couldn't kill originally.
It's all about the legacy.
And I do like that, and it was an original take, and they haven't done something like that yet. I almost feel like they're teasing that for the next movie, that we're going to know who the killer is from the beginning of Scream 7. I can see that being just kind of, this movie definitely hints at where the series could go in the future.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of teases to shit.
Yeah.
So I dug that. I also dug how, and it warmed my heart, how in that opening sequence, the kid, I don't know the actor's name. I know he's from the new Spider-Man movies. He's from Dope.
Tony Revolori or something.
There's a movie,
like
Dope. I think it came out in 2014 or 15 that I really like, and I remember him. He acted in that. Where he's watching Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yes.
Which is amazing that they were meta enough to they knew what they were making. They're like, you know what? We're gonna stick in a reference to Jason Takes Manhattan, the king of Takes Manhattan movies.
Right.
And I'll say this right now. I still think Jason Takes Manhattan did Manhattan better than Scream 6. Jason Takes Manhattan
There's a case to be made because of one particular thing that Jason Takes Manhattan does.
One short sequence. Yes, one short sequence, which I feel this movie should have done. And when we get to our dislikes, we'll talk about that. What are some, and I want to talk about favorite scenes, because I'm pretty sure
on the same page.
The 2 scenes that we both really liked, first up was we called it the Judgment Night scene. If you guys are not familiar with the Judgment Night film, there's a scene kind of like it where
very similar.
There's 2 buildings and there's a ladder across both buildings, and people have to go from point A to point B to avoid being murdered. And really brutal, man, how they all make it. Like Mindy gets her arm slashed,
cut up,
and then Sam crosses first, which was interesting that they had Sam cross first. I guess because Dave was calling her over to hurry up.
Girl.
Yeah, baby girl, come over, get over here. And then her girlfriend, Mindy's girlfriend, gets grabbed and stabbed and almost gutted, and then she's the last one to cross, and Ghostface breaks through the door, and really, she's saying she doesn't want to die. Really, really, just a really tense scene, and it was a good use of the urban environment. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. I will say the one thing I wish they would have done, just again, like being a New Yorker, I guess it's kind of a thing like that other people who aren't from New York probably are like, oh man, that's very real New York. But like, I wish, and it would have taken away from the tenseness of the scene if they would have had like somebody ignoring all this yelling and screaming and shit that's going on in the alley behind their building, like somebody closing a window or like somebody screaming like shut the fuck up or something. I could see how it would have undermined the severity of the scene though, but it would have been realistic.
I'll be honest, all logic needs to be thrown out the window when watching this movie, just living in a city, because cops would have been called quick. And I get that like one of the killers, we haven't said it yet, is a cop, but even still,
Yeah, the real cops would have been called.
That entire sequence is like 10 minutes long, and no one, like no neighbors hear it.
It's in that sense, it's kind of hollow. Which that's sort of my biggest. We'll say, as we go along, that's kind of my biggest complaint is like the hollowness of this version of New York.
It doesn't feel alive.
Yeah,
and it feels alive, and I could use that as a segue really quick before we go into the next scene. I know we both really liked. All the Halloween stuff. There's a lot of people in costume, but it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie. There's zero decorations, zero jack-o'-lanterns. There's zero. Yes. It's literally just people walking around dressed as clowns and like a lot of references to like Michael Myers, Jason, Ready or Not. The directors.
Yes, I was gonna say I caught that. The Radio Silence guys. There's a girl dressed as Samara Weaving's character from that.
It's a lot of Ghostface
Obviously.
Everywhere for obvious reasons. It plays into the narrative of the movie where people are obsessed with Ghostface in New York City. But yeah, I see what you mean. Like it feels hollow, and I think the Halloween aspect of the movie as well is hollow. It's like, let's just make it set on Halloween so we could have lots of people wearing. It's almost like they used Halloween just to have people on the subway wearing Ghostface masks
to justify
for the subway scene. Because otherwise, there's a brief Halloween party at the fraternity or whatever,
start of the movie,
sorority.
The shrink says "come back tomorrow" in regards to thinking like the Ghostface at his door is a trick or treater. The Halloween references are kind of half measured. Like they don't lean into it enough.
They did it just because of the whole costume killer thing. That's really why they added. It makes sense. Like, even though in New York, if we saw a dude wearing a full mask on the subway, I don't think we'd question it. If it was May, we'd just say either he is crazy or he's going somewhere today. You know what I mean? Or tonight. So. It was a little disappointing. You guys could have stuck I missed it. I have to watch it again, but I didn't see a single jack-o'-lantern. It didn't feel like the fall in New York, which, to be fair, fall in New York, it's like 70 degrees. So, we don't really get the cold weather until November, December. So that kind of made sense. Like Samara Weaving was outside wearing like this nice tight dress, no jacket on. It was like it could have been like the spring or summer. So whatever. I agree about the hollowness. And speaking of the subway scene, that's probably. Do you agree that I'm assuming that's another tense scene, the subway scene, where you've got one group in the. I think they jumped on the train before, and Mindy got lost. She got stuck because the trains are so packed because it's Halloween and people are. Going places.
Which, that makes sense. That makes sense. That one I can give them. Like that, that's true. Like people are going to be using the subway to go to Halloween parties and what have you. That scene of like the back and forth between the two groups on the cars and then both of them thinking that Ghostface is on their car. Yeah. And one of them, what it turns out that the one that's with Sam and Tara is not the real Ghostface. Right. Dave tries to press him, which I do like that scene. That was pretty funny. The dude is coming up to them, and then he just stands up like he's about to press the dude, and then in the cart, and he gives him the eye. And then the other cart, Mindy, is alone with the Avatar kid, and it turns out that's actually a Ghostface, and it stabs her in the stomach. Yeah. And I do like how they played up that scene with the lights flickering, even though that doesn't happen in New York that was anymore. Good. That was cool. That doesn't happen here anymore. Our subways don't do that. Years. That was like very much in like 90s, early 2000s was probably the last time. Again, I think our lens to look at this stuff is a little bit more skewed. So like a general audience that's watching it in like California is going to be like, fuck, like that's how the New York City subways are. The lights flicker and that kind of stuff, And it was obviously a fake subway too. You could tell it was all sets and it was a fake. It still looked, it looked good. It looked just like like our subway system. So I give them credit for that. Better than Jason Takes Manhattan. That was not our subway system at all. No. So in this one, they did a good job mimicking like the way the cart looks and the platform and stuff. But that scene was great. Just the back and forth, the lights flickering, Ghostface covering her mouth, stabbing her, and sliding her down, then sneaking out. Great. And I like how they use that scene
to kind of make it seem like that one dude wasn't the killer when in reality
yes, yeah,
he
I
was.
like that he even went so far as to like help her off the train.
Yeah, for sure. It just kind of it played into like the fake out, which there's both killers, two of the killers fake out being the killer because they and it makes sense to have three killers because you're in a big city. So it's like you have people all over you have three because it's three killers. There, one can be here and one can be there to kind of protect the other's identity. They think one of them is dead. They think the other guy's innocent. They think the other one's a cop. So it kind of makes sense. One more scene I want to mention that I really liked. I liked the entire Gale sequence. Her almost dying because I thought they were gonna kill her, dude. I thought she died.
I wish they did.
Nah, dude, I love the whole setup to her. I feel bad for the actor that played the boyfriend. My man just came in and died. He had no development.
One line on the phone, that's it.
And she gave 2 fucks about him dying, too. You notice that?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, Gail.
Yeah, because the killer got her on the phone. He started talking about Dewey. That Dewey's the soft spot. Once you talk about Dewey, that's
she
it.
still had a picture of her and Dewey. You notice that? There was like a little picture.
I like that.
I also like, not to bounce around, but there's that one sequence where she's talking to Tara, I think it is, or is it Sam? And you hear Dewey's theme.
Yes, yeah.
I like how they were able to, again, his spirit was still in the movie.
I mean, they had to be. Like, there had to be something about it. He was too important to the franchise to just be like, yeah, well, he died in the last one. We're not fucking talking about it no more. And when she was like, Dewey would be ashamed of you and that kind of stuff. And they honored him enough,
and I'm sure they'll continue to do that in the next movie.
Of course.
A little part of me feels like maybe they regret killing him off. Like, it would have made no sense for him to be there in New York, but
but can you just imagine like small town Dewey going up against these like hotshot New York cops, like fish out of water style? It would have been Arquette would have done it so well,
especially with no Sidney in the movie. Like, like you could have utilized him again. Because he was always the one that, I guess, his character was the heart of the Scream movies. So he was always kind of like bubbly and innocent and stuff. So it made sense. I think
to that point, that the heart of the Scream movies, I feel like they're kind of giving Chad that role now.
They're not going to kill that dude off.
He's got the Dewey plot armor. It's twice now that we think that this kid is dead, that he's not, just like Dewey in Scream 1 and Scream 2.
He's basically the new Dewey, and then his sister's the new Randy. That's really what it is. And then Sam and Tara are the Sidney and Gale, I guess, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that passing of the torch in a way, and especially in this movie, you really feel that Chad is kind of dorky, and it works for very likable. I think he's better. I feel like the twins and Sam and Tara, all the core four that they call themselves in the movie,
core fucking four,
are way better and more fleshed out in this movie.
Absolutely, and I think one of the biggest reasons for that is because Neve Campbell wasn't in the movie, so you don't have to dedicate any screen time to this character.
They gave him more love.
Yeah, exactly. You give them more of a reason to shine, and I think they all did. Even Sam, who she sucked in the last one. She was wooden. She was like unbelievable. Like, her line delivery was bad. She was awesome in this one. Jenna Ortega, she's always fucking great. And the twins, again, like, the scene where she's given them the rules of the franchise and how things go in the franchise, it's just like, she's just effortlessly charming, that Mindy character. Like, she's just really good.
It's just a natural charisma. But going back to Courtney Cox and Gale's scene, because we kind of brushed over that. I like that. I like her finally getting a call from Ghostface after 6 movies, never getting one, finally getting one. I wish they would have pulled the trigger maybe and killed another legacy character off just to kind of raise the stakes. But I thought she was dead. I thought she was done for. But no, she survived. There's a piece of dialogue at the very end of the movie. It's almost like they killed her off, but then by the end of it, they were like, you know what? Let's keep her in case Neve Campbell doesn't come back again.
Right. I feel like they kind of, the same thing with Kirby. I feel like at this point, they're kind of like, we'll take whatever legacy characters we can get. Though at this point, the core four are legacy characters now.
They're likable enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, Jenna Ortega is just naturally charismatic. The twins are naturally charismatic. Sam has gotten better. That character has gotten better. That actress has gotten better. So I agree. I agree with what you said. And I think they need, you need to have Gale. And I feel like this movie is going to be like a big Avengers type deal by the next one. I have a theory as to why. At the very end, we'll talk about that. Let's jump into some of our dislikes and things we didn't like. I'll start. And we've hinted at it. There's two things. I think having 3 killers, because it's revealed that Richie's family wants revenge on Sam and Tara. So you've got his father, his sister, his younger sister, and his younger brother. And the whole thing is they want to finish his film, his legacy, what he wanted to do, and they want revenge, and they want to kill these 2 sisters and literally these 4 people. They want to kill all 4 of them.
Anyone who was involved.
Even Gale, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the killer say, I had no intention on killing you, but for nostalgia's sake, it'd be fun to murder you. Something along those lines. I think Ghostface said on the phone, where it was like she was never in the plan. It's a very personal motivation for these Ghostface being Richie's family.
I think like visually it looked cool when they were all like standing there together as like the triple Ghostfaces. However, it is it's a lot. It's a lot to like wrap your head around.
Yeah, like you didn't need. It could have easily have just been either the sister and the father, or the father and the son, like the younger brother. Right. It didn't need to be 3. And I feel like it kind of for me at least, it took the wind out of it a little. I was like, really, 3 killers? Like it literally, and I know you thought this was really cool too. They made it 2 siblings just to do the when they clean the knife, the blade at the same time. Like it was a cool visual to see that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it looks cool on screen, but like thematically and from a story standpoint, you could poke holes in it all day.
It just made it was unnecessary. Honestly, it could have just been the cop. Like the bodega scene, it made sense why he knew how to use a shotgun and stuff like that.
Right.
Like because if you watch the movie, it seems like that character did most of the murdering. The father. Because he was the main Billy Loomis mask. So I was like, all right, cool. I liked him in the movie. He was good. Very menacing. Yeah. It worked. He looked like a father that was fucking crazy and wanted to get revenge.
I will say that one surprised me the most. Dermot Mulroney being the killer. I really liked that he was the killer.
I had a feeling watching it. I was like, I think he's the killer. I think he's the killer. And the little brother, the kid from Avatar. The sister, I thought she was dead. He could be
related to Jack Quaid.
He does. I thought the little sister was dead. That character, I thought, like, before it was revealed that she was a sister, I thought she was dead. I was like, all right, cool. That's why they brought her back.
It was a good enough fake-out death. I think, like when they showed her come out of the room, like, her throat was, slit and stuff, and they had the Dave guy taking the pictures of everything going on and sending them to them. Like, her fake-out death worked.
I just feel like it was unnecessary. They didn't need to. She didn't need to be the killer in the movie, but whatever. They wanted a whole family, So it is what it is.
I mean, I get like from a stakes perspective, they want to always up the ante and like do things that haven't been done before.
I wasn't crazy.
My biggest gripe, though, I feel like this movie, as unexpected as it is to do things like having 3 killers, it also was super safe. None of the returning characters died.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
I thought Chad was done for because he got stabbed like 50 times.
So that scene where he fights off, he tries to fight off the 2 ghost
faces. That was a cool scene, yeah.
And it's fucking awesome. It's a great scene. It would have been a great death scene, and then it's undermined by him kind of showing up at the end like that. And that's my absolute biggest gripe with this movie is that it was safe in regards to the main cast. When they tell you like
he's too likable, man, we said it.
Any of them can die, and then none of them die.
He's too likable, dude. I I don't see. I think all 4 of them are gonna survive the next one too. I
don't think they should. I think they should start taking big swings. Like, you know, you bring back Hayden Panettiere, great. Like, you bring her back, you're not gonna kill her off again after one movie.
I think Gail would have been the one that they should have.
Gail should have died.
Yeah, but they wanted to play it safe because they want to bring her back. You know, listen. They lost Nev Campbell in this movie.
Right.
They don't have Dewey anymore.
They can't afford to lose another original main character.
No offense to Hayden, whatever. She is still not as important as Courtney Cox to these movies. She's literally been in every single one. So they need certainty. And I think Courtney Cox is certain. They know they can get her back. Like, they know she'll do it. So I think that's why they left it kind of open-ended and that she survived. And then the younger cast, they might maybe kill one of them off. I don't know. We'll see. I have a theory on where the last one's gonna go.
I have a theory too. So we got to discuss that.
We'll close it out with that. And the last kind of dislike is, honestly, I really like this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. It was dumb. It was dumb in the best way possible. I wish they would have maybe shot in New York for a day, just like Jason Takes Manhattan, and got a shot of, I don't know, Ghostface and Bryant Park. Times Square would have been perfect.
Something iconic.
Or by the Empire State Building. Something, just to kind of play up the New York setting.
Yeah.
But they never
can you imagine how cool like a chase scene in Times Square with Ghostface would have fucking looked?
They didn't even need to do that. They just could have had it been maybe like cutaways where the characters look and it's like Ghostface walking down, I don't fucking know, in Soho or some shit. Like, they could have done something where there's a visual cue, like, okay, that's New York. But they didn't do that. So I was a little disappointed with that. Just kind of, you guys couldn't, I get it, you shot in Canada. They literally did the same thing Jason Takes Manhattan did. But you guys couldn't get one day in New York and shot at Bryant Park or on 34th Street. Or, you know, in the West Village, something.
Right. Like, it's a lot of, like, skyline B-roll stuff to transition between shots.
Dude, like, one of the posters I think I remember seeing online was Times Square.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys couldn't just get, like, a shot of, like, them running through Times Square. I guess I understand. It would have been literally ripping off a scene from Jason Takes Manhattan. But
and I think that's probably Street. In their head, you know?
Yeah, but you could have gone to 34th Street. You could have gone to a number of places in Manhattan and got, you know, like Soho. It looks like the characters lived in like a trendy area like that. You know what I mean? Or you could have gotten...
that's the thing. Where did they live? It could have literally been anywhere.
Yeah, which is fine. That's whatever. The college they went to was a fake college and blah, blah, blah.
It's like, it's supposed to, I guess, kind of be like Columbia adjacent. It's like uptown because they're on the 2 and the 5 train up there. Blackmore College, I think it's called.
Yeah, it's, again, I feel like they just could... It could have definitely used a shot or two of these characters actually in New York. They did a good job faking it. I think they did a better job faking it than Jason Takes Manhattan. But even still, the movie would have benefited from. I still think it would have benefited from like at least 1 or 2 shots of Ghostface in some like in front of some monument. They couldn't go to They couldn't have a scene in Central Park. They had that scene in a park.
Was that supposed to be Central Park or like
it was supposed to be Central Park because she's on the map, Kirby, looking at things, and it's Central Park, blah blah blah. So I don't know, it was weird, but you know maybe the budget didn't call for it. I know it's expensive to shoot here, you know, so it makes sense. But otherwise, dude, I really don't have a lot of complaints. That was really it. Just the ending, 3 killers, unnecessary. Could have been 2, and the convenience of that. And the lack of real New York. That was really, for me, that was really my only complaint. Overall, dude, I thought it was a lot of fun, had a lot of tense moments. I think all the characters are likable. I will even say this. To me, I think these movies, these 2 films so far, and I'm assuming it's supposed to be a new trilogy, right? That's kind of what they're going for.
I would think so.
I think they're doing a better job than the new Halloween movies.
Wow,
they feel
that's big.
more.
That's big coming from you.
Oh well, no, because I'll be very honest. Halloween 2018 Kills and Ends had some problems, and there was not a lot of it felt like continuity was kind of all over the place from film to film. I feel like with these movies, they have like a very loose plan. You know what I mean?
Think so.
a lot of family, a lot of references to family and the past.
I think they're using the original 1, 2, and 3 as a good blueprint, and 4 thematically, this movie is Scream 2 all over again. The killers are the killer in this film, where they're in college, is the parent of the killer from the first one. That's the same thing as Scream 2. You know, Billy's mother was the killer when they were in college in Scream 2. So that's why I have some ideas of like what I think they may or may not do for the Scream 7. So I think they're following a good blueprint.
So we can just talk about that now. We'll close it out with that. So they hint at that shit so much about the character of Stu. She literally has a line where Mindy says like, oh, if he's dead or something like that.
Right, if you believe that he's dead.
If you believe that he's dead. And then they reference his TV. The TV is hinted at. And it'd be a fucking stretch for them to bring him back. But I'm sure there's a way to do it. Also, you know what makes me think that they're going to make him the killer, like the Thanos of this new trilogy in like the third movie? Her being Billy's daughter and the constant callback. Like Skeet Ulrich pops up briefly in this movie in the reflection.
Which I think worked better in this one than it did in the last one.
I think it's going to play into the next movie, and I might be this might be a fucking insane theory I'm coming up with, and it sounds like you agree with me with this being.
I have sort of a similar theory that involves their mother and Stu some way.
Oh, I'm not
concrete on it.
Once I'm done, I want to hear your thing. But yeah, I feel like Stu will play into it because they've teased it so many. Like he had a family member, if I remember correctly, in 2022.
In the last one, Kyle Gallner played his like nephew or something.
He's referenced like 2 or 3 times in this one. Her being, Sam is Billy's daughter. I feel like they need a big bad. And where do you go? Okay. Right. The first one was the super fan that wants to kind of not remake, but requelize the movie and make it better because the sequel sucked. And it was her boyfriend. In this movie, it's the family of that character. You can't go back to that well. That shit's run dry. So the only thing I can think is that they have either Stu or something adjacent to Stu, and they reveal it early on that that's who the killer is, because I feel like that was also a tease in this movie, revealing the killer early. Yeah. And you know who the killer is in the new movie, or maybe there's a killer and then there's another killer, but we don't know who the second killer is. We know who's pulling the strings. And then it all comes down to like Billy versus Stu. And it's kind of, what the first movie was, but they're kind of going against each other. And then you can have, Gale and all these other characters return from, that are alive.
Well, to that point.
And the mom, I agree. I didn't even think about that.
Scream 3, the original script for Scream 3, pre Columbine, because Columbine changed everything.
I think I heard about that. I know what you're going
to talk about. Stu was going to be like, survived Scream 1 somehow and was like masterminding a cult. Yeah. And, was pulling the strings from like prison or whatever, which doesn't sound so far off of what you just said,
Yeah, again, it might. I don't honestly. If they do that, it'll be fucking ridiculous. It would have to be like the opening kill. Whoever's killed, the mask comes off, and it's fucking Matthew Lillard. That's what they would have to do to make it kind of cool and make the fans. Because I know fans have wanted him to come back. Yeah, I'll be very honest.
I never wanted to come back.
That's never been a thing I'm clamoring for. Like, I like Matthew Lillard, but I'm not like, he needs to.
Right, but I don't think he needs to come back to this franchise
because it'd be ridiculous. But if that's where they want to go, they're definitely teasing it. I also agree with you that the mother. So let me hear your theory.
I think if they're using the original 3 Scream movies as this blueprint, right? Scream 3 is the long-lost brother who secretly masterminded all of it, right? It started with him giving Billy the reason to go and start all this. What if somewhere in there, Sam and Tara's mother, who we've never met, but we were told her name is Christina. She was maybe in some kind of rehab group in Scream 5. and she's doesn't want to talk to them anymore in Scream 6. What if she's obviously of the age that she'd have been in high school with Billy and Stu? What if there's some kind of relationship between her and Stu that we didn't know about in some kind of way, and this is all very weirdly connected all the way back to the beginning?
It's always about family too, if you notice with these new movies. It's sort of like family. She's the daughter. The family in this movie want revenge for Richie dying. I could see that. They definitely teasing something with the mother.
It's gonna be Vin Diesel. It's all about family.
I hope not. That's when I check out of the Scream movies. I am curious where they go. Like, this was fun, dude. Like, it was a fun movie, but I'm curious. Like, it was fun, silly. But like, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
I enjoyed watching this one more than I enjoyed 3, 4, 5.
Really? See, I wouldn't say
I had a blast with it.
I
Even
think
with
5
my
was
gripes
better.
aside, I had a blast with it.
I enjoyed 5 more. I'll be honest. I think 5 was a better. It was a better made movie. What I like about this one is it kind of throws everything you know about Scream out the window. It almost doesn't feel like a Scream movie. It's like it's Ghostface is chasing them, which I like. You know, there's groups of people running from Ghostface, which you don't really like. In the Scream movies, always like get one of them alone, murder them. In this, you know, in the previous Scream movies, Ghostface, that was kind of his MO. Or whoever the killer was, that was their MO. Get the person alone, kill them. There's so many setup scenes in 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Right.
In this one, I feel like it's literally Ghostface chasing them.
Yeah. He's hunting them,
Hunting them, yeah. Well, the family's hunting them. And when people die, besides maybe the doc, her psychiatrist, and the guy in the beginning, most of the kills are like other people around. Like when the girl dies with the in between 2 buildings and all, like
the people in the bodega, like the dude that gets in Ghostface's face.
That scene was sick too. I'm not gonna front.
Just murks people.
Very New York. The murder in the bodega. But yeah, man. I enjoyed it. I'm curious where the series goes. I dug it. Absolutely. I thought it was a well-made movie. I love that they had an end credit song, Demi Lovato. I'm not a Demi Lovato fan, but it was very cheesy.
Speaking of end credits, did you stick around to the end of the credits?
Where she says, like, not all movies
very self-referential.
Right? Yeah. Mindy says, not all movies need
post-credit scenes.
Yeah, it was funny, because I guess everyone was waiting for something to happen and see what happens.
Right, like a call to Sydney, like set up the sequel.
You told me to stay, and that's the only reason why I stayed. Right. I would have fucking left because I was like, I had to. It was a long movie, too.
You could have.
Drank a big soda. It was a 2-hour longest Scream, so.
Longest Scream in the franchise. Also, like, as of this recording, the movie made like $45 million this weekend. Yeah, so there's a sequel is not far 100%. Behind. It'll be announced in the next couple weeks.
What's your closing thoughts? What are your closing thoughts?
Like I said, I loved it. I had a blast with it. I can't wait to watch it again to kind of see more of the, like, one of my favorite things to do after I watch a Scream movie, like knowing who the killers are, is try to like piece together which Ghostface is doing what kind of thing. That's one of my favorite things to do. So like I'm excited to go back and kind of like fill in those gaps.
Yeah, same here. I'm excited to go back and just watch it again, just because of how absurd it was. I had a good time with it, man. I'm looking forward to Scream 7 whenever it comes out.
Scream.
I hear you're a horror fan. It's been said.
Everywhere Friday.
So those were our thoughts on Scream 6. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Haunted Hangover. Also, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/hauntedhangover31.
If you could rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is
more booze.
Catch you guys later.